Some of the tools that I'm really looking forward to seeing are specifically related to stereo production. If you look at the kinds of tools that a stereographer has available to them when they're shooting, the various tools that allow them to kind of really look at convergence and divergence and how the stereo um, the analytic tools that they have available to them to understand whether or not how their stereo shot is going to work and if it will work. I'd love to see those incorporated into the pre-production side, into Maya, because when we're asked to do stereo work, we don't really have access to the kind of basic fundamental analytic tools that would allow a stereographer to look at it to say, yes, that shot will work. So looking for essentially parity. How do you get those same onset tools that a stereographer is accustomed to looking at into an animation package like Maya? On the virtual production side, we're always looking for kind of greater and better integration between various applications. So from Maya to Motion Builder, being able to have better kind of data sharing, data export tools, because ultimately you're talking about a mixed environment in terms of what software you're using. It's not going to be just a single tool. It's not going to be just Maya. You're going to be combining definitely Maya with Motion Builder. There might be some proprietary onset tools that you have to interact with. So we're always looking for things that allow us to take our scenes, take our assets, and port them back and forth between multiple applications without having to do a lot of reverse engineering in order to make them work. My background is in architecture. I was studying architecture at MIT, and kind of typical story of coincidence. One of my good friends ended up doing some work at a visual effects company out in Western Massachusetts called Massillusion, and while he was at Massillusion, he met a bunch of other people, some of them from MIT, some of them from Columbia School of Architecture, who all had this idea of starting a visual effects company to focus on previs. And those ended up being the original founders of Pixel Liberation Front. I finished my studies at MIT. I moved to New York because I wanted to become, famous architect and build skyscrapers. As I was on my job hunt, I started just picking up some odd jobs with Pixel Liberation Front, doing some 3D modeling for them, and ultimately got invited to join a team to work on Starship Troopers out in Los Angeles. I never had any intention of becoming a previs artist. I never had any intention of ever working in the feature film industry. It just seemed like a good opportunity to spend a few months in Los Angeles and kind of have a good time. What ended up happening was I discovered that there is this environment in the world of feature film production, especially in pre-production, where it really is a design process. And it was the thing that I loved about architecture school, was this idea of the studio. And you have a design problem, you have 3-4 months to figure this design problem out, to come up with some ideas, to test the ideas, to see if they work, to figure out where they fail, to develop those ideas. And the great thing about architecture school is you never have to build it. You simply have to get to the point to say that this was the best idea you could come up with in this amount of time. I love that idea. I love that environment. I love the intensity of it. And what I discovered through that first job with Pixel Liberation Front was that that's exactly what previs is that it's our job to sit there, to work with the filmmakers, to test out a variety of ideas, to see what works, to see what doesn't work. I mean, some of the greatest successes that I can point to are failures. Areas where we were able to push an idea to the point where all the filmmakers could look at it and say, that doesn't work, we're not going to do it. And therefore, we're not going to spend $1 to do it, and we can take the money that we're going to do and put it towards something else. And I love I love being in that environment where everything's in flux and everything is dynamic and ever changing. And you kind of just push it and push it and push it until you hit your deadline. And then the filmmakers go off and they, make it. They make the magic happen. What I discovered is I really enjoyed that world. I really enjoyed the kind of interdepartmental collaboration you find in that world. So where where previs started off as being just a visual effects service, um, what I quickly discovered was that there are all kinds of ways in which we can interact with the art department, and we can start to assist with art department and production design, and then we can equally obviously work with camera, and there might be work we can do with locations, and that was the point at which I decided to found my own previs studio, because I really wanted to focus on that that kind of nexus of interdepartmental collaboration, and how previs could really serve as a hub in the middle of that, kind of this clearinghouse of information and design ideas that then kind of spread out to all the various departments. And that was 10 years ago. The thing that gives me the most satisfaction still to this day is just designing a really nice shot. Is sitting in front of the workstation and listening to the input from the director, seeing what the storyboard artists have come up with, reading the script, looking at the concept art, and synthesizing all of those different ideas and just crafting a really beautiful shot. Having the director come in and getting that feedback, getting that opportunity to look at it and say, oh, where we should take it is here and where we should push it is there, and really that great feeling of for me, that great feeling of satisfaction that comes from being able to synthesize the inputs from a half a dozen different sources and really kind of put them into one great idea, and have everyone look at it and say, yeah, that's it, that's the shot that we want.